In a single night, President Ibrahim Traoré had stopped a full-blown military coup. Not with loud force, but with quiet precision. Inside the Kosyam Palace, President Ibrahim Traoré sat in his bureau late at night. He didn't require coffee. His eyes were wide open, his brain sharp like a blade. He could sense something was wrong. The silence was too flawless. The grins in his sessions were too stiff. That's when a small packet arrived. No name, no stamp, just 4 words penned in rushed writing. Be careful. It's inside. Traoré unsealed it and found a note with a list of names, all from the forces. Some he relied on. Some were even part of his core squad. But what was this? The next day, he summoned Captain Naba Zongo, the same young soldier who helped detect the mole months ago. Zongo, he said, I want you again. Discreetly. No one must know, not even the chiefs. Zongo bowed. Yes, Mr. Leader. Traoré gave him the list. These names, shadow them. Don't probe. Just monitor. We're stepping into something vast. Zongo agreed. And if I find clues, don't call me. Come to me straight. This is not just tactics. This is war. That night, Zongo slipped into the shadows. He changed his attire, used a fake name, and moved like a wraith. He didn't trust anyone, not even close officers. He started tracking one name from the list. Colonel Dabiré, chief of the 3rd Infantry. Dabiré was a famed man. Bold, wise. But something felt wrong. Zongo tailed him to a calm compound on the rim of the city. No guards, no marked cars. Just 4 men in army attire meeting behind locked doors. He snapped photos from the roof. He caught parts of their talk through a slit in the glass. He couldn't accept what he heard. The leader moves too quick. He axed the foreign deals. Now the funds are thin. If we don't strike soon, we lose all, another voice said. Then we act before the Freedom Day. Hit once, no flaws. We remove him. The nation settles. Foreign backing returns. Zongo's guts sank. They were plotting a coup. Captain Naba Zongo didn't delay. He went back to the palace before dawn, passing guards who didn't know the thunder he was hiding in his bag. The pictures, the audio, and the list of men ready to wreck the country from within. President Ibrahim Traoré was already alert, standing on the porch, watching the dark sky fade to gray. Zongo bowed, gave him the files, and said low, It's real, sir. They're planning to oust you before the Freedom Day. They've picked a successor. Traoré didn't blink. He opened the file calmly, scanned each face, and heard the taped voices like a hunter reading his target. Then he said, We don't fear. We brace. He called a covert briefing, not in the palace, but in a deserted outpost outside the town. Only 5 were called. No gadgets, no alerts. Not even his own detail knew where he was going. Inside that dusty old room, he spread out the proof on a timber table. These men are not just rebels, he said. They are skilled officers. Some of them fought with me. Some I shared food with. And now they are plotting to stab the nation in the back. One general shook his head. We can seize them now. No, Traoré replied. If we act too soon, we catch the pawns. But the brain behind this, he will flee. Zongo leaned closer. You think there's someone above? I know there is, Traoré said. Colonel Dabiré is not wise enough to plan this solo. Someone else is pulling the wires. They all went still. Traoré's eyes narrowed. We let them go forward, just far enough. Then we strike. For the next 5 days, the leader lived a double role. In public, he gave talks, shook hands, and posed for the cameras. But in secret, he was shifting his loyal squads, checking arms, and locking down key zones. The airport, the state radio post, the barracks. Zongo crept deeper. He tracked the coup schemers as they met foreign-looking men late at night. He saw money being handed, large sums. He heard, once the leader is out, France will come. All will go back to usual. Zongo almost stormed in that night, but he recalled the leader's command. Not yet. On the 6th day, Traoré got the signal he had been waiting for. The coup chiefs aimed to make their move on Sunday night, just before the flag-hoisting ritual. They would attack during a fake combat drill. One of the generals had already placed loyal units to encircle the palace. And the one leading it all? His name showed up in Zongo's last memo. Someone no one foresaw. Someone close to the leader. The name in Zongo's last memo hit like thunder. General Yakuba Seré. one of the most admired officers in the nation, a man the people praised, a man who stood beside President Traoré at speeches, army marches, and state events. Traoré sat alone in his chamber, holding the folder in both palms. His jaw was firm. His eyes didn't move. Of all men, Serré? They had shared a tent in war, eaten from one pot in the wild, fought side by side during the revolt. When Traoré gained power, it was Serré who stood by him on the ledge, lifting his fist to the crowd. Now he was the one trying to ruin it all. The disloyalty stung deep. Captain Zongo stood quietly nearby, waiting. He could see the load in the leader's gaze, but Traoré didn't bend. He didn't speak with anger. He stood tall and said, "Prepare for Operation Storm Night." That night, inside the hidden war room, the loyal team gathered. A full chart of Ouagadougou was laid on the desk. Lights marked key areas: the Palace Army Base, Signal Tower Airfield, the hidden home where the coup heads would gather. Traoré glanced at each face in the hall. His tone was calm, yet firm. "We let them think they've already won. Tomorrow night, they will act, but we'll be ready. No way out, no alarm. This must be neat and silent. Burkina Faso must rise in calm." Zongo pointed to a tiny block near the edge. "General Serré will be there, with Colonel Dabere and the rest. If we catch him, we cut the plan from the top." The squad agreed. Traoré gave one last command. "Seize! Don't shoot! I want the people to view with their own eyes who turned on them." The night ahead of the coup, Traoré slept just 1 hour. He wore simple clothes and drove alone to the base point. No one knew him in the dark. No horns, no escort. Just him and the facts. At 11:47 p.m., the fake combat drill kicked off. Troops loyal to Serré moved toward the palace, but they ran into trouble. All the entries were already locked down. Guards meant to aid the coup had been quietly swapped the day prior. At 12:08 a.m., the coup heads got to their secret location and walked into a trap. Zongo led the squad. Down. Kneel. Drop all arms. Dabere went for his gun, but was pinned to the floor. Serré lifted his hands slowly, his skin pale. He had no fight left. "You," he said, eyeing Zongo. "You were the ghost." "No," Zongo said. "I was the mirror. You fooled yourself." By dawn, the streets of Ouagadougou were calm. The sun rose like any other day. Shops opened. Children walked to school. Radios played soft music. But behind the scenes, the country had escaped disaster. In a single night, President Ibrahim Traoré had stopped a full-blown military coup. Not with loud force, but with quiet precision. The coup leaders were taken to a secure location far from the city. No public noise, no media alerts. The people didn't even know what had happened. Not yet. But Traoré knew he couldn't keep it hidden for long. At 7:30 a.m., he walked into the press room at the Kosiam Palace, dressed in his army uniform. No suit, no ceremony. His face was calm, but serious. Cameras flashed. Journalists sat up straighter. He spoke slowly. "Last night, your country was almost taken from you," he began. "A small group of men, trained, armed, and dressed like patriots, tried to undo everything we've built." The room went silent. "They didn't come from outside," he said. "They came from within, from our own ranks, from people who smiled at us during the day, but plotted our downfall at night." He paused. "But they forgot one thing. Burkina Faso is not for sale. Not to old powers, not to money, not to fear." A few reporters had tears in their eyes. Some were frozen in shock. "Those behind this plot have been arrested. They will face justice. Not because we seek revenge, but because we must protect truth. We must protect the people." Outside, the crowd was growing. People had begun to hear. Whispers turned into questions. Questions turned into anger. Then came cheers. Traoré ended his speech with one powerful line. "You cannot kill a tree that has roots in the people. I serve the people. I stand with the people, and I will fall with the people. But I will never fall for the enemy." That day, across social media, images of the president standing firm went viral. No one expected such calm leadership. No one expected the president to be 10 steps ahead. In the afternoon, he visited the army headquarters and spoke to the loyal soldiers. "You held the line," he told them. "You didn't join the darkness. And because of that, the light still shines." He gave each of them a small pin, the symbol of the revolution. a black star on red. These men tried to use your uniforms to betray your country, but today, your uniform stands for courage. Meanwhile, the people had just one question on their lips. How did he know? The answer was even more shocking. While the country celebrated and foreign news began to report what had happened in Ouagadougou, only a few people knew the full truth behind how the plot was stopped in time. It wasn't just the list in the envelope. It wasn't just Captain Zongo's brilliant fieldwork. There was someone else. Someone deep inside the shadows. A man no one had seen. A man even the coup plotters trusted. He was the final piece of the puzzle. President Traoré sat in a private room with Zongo, going over the files one last time. There was one name Zongo had left out of the reports. One name he gave directly to the president in a sealed file. He was one of them, Zongo said. But he came to me. Traoré raised an eyebrow. You mean, he switched sides? Zongo nodded. He was promised a new life in Europe. They said they would give him a house, a salary, everything if the coup worked. But he couldn't do it. He said, I believe in Traoré more than I believe in Paris. Traoré didn't smile. He just leaned forward and opened the file. Sergeant Karim Sawadago, an ordinary soldier in the 3rd Infantry. No rank, no medals. But he had been in every meeting, heard every plan. He kept notes, recorded voices, and passed them on secretly to Zongo while risking his own life. He could have escaped, Zongo said. He could have let it happen. But he chose to serve the truth. Traoré nodded slowly. Bring him to me. That evening, the young sergeant entered the president's office nervously. He was sweating, his hands stiff by his sides. Traoré walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. You didn't have to do what you did, he said quietly. You had every reason to stay silent. But you stood up for your country. Karim's voice was soft. You once said in a speech, the fight for Africa is not for the loud ones. It's for the loyal ones. That stayed in my heart. Traoré looked him in the eye. You've done more for this country in silence than others have done with loud speeches. He handed him a new rank badge. From today, you're no longer a hidden soldier. You are a protector of the people. Karim saluted with tears in his eyes, but not everyone was crying for joy. The foreign powers who backed the coup were embarrassed. They denied everything. They said Burkina Faso is imagining things. But they knew their plan had failed. And the man who ruined their plan? A young soldier, a quiet officer, and a president who refused to bow. But the fight was not over. The people of Burkina Faso had been saved this time. But how many other plans were hiding in the dark? President Traoré made a decision that night. No more surprises, no more shadows. He would clean the system from top to bottom. And he would start with the ones wearing uniforms and hiding knives behind their backs. The days that followed were not quiet. The failed coup had left a crack in the system. And President Ibrahim Traoré was not going to let that crack grow into a wound. He didn't wait for the dust to settle. One by one, he summoned every senior officer, every regional commander, every high-ranking bureaucrat in the security system. No more hiding, no more pretending. Each one was asked a simple question. Where were you the night the country almost died? Some answered with pride, some with shame. A few stayed silent. But Ibrahim was not hunting for revenge. He was hunting for truth. He formed a new committee, led by Captain Zongo and a team of trusted civilians. Teachers, lawyers, retired officers, even market leaders, people with no loyalty to titles, only to justice. They were given full power to investigate corruption and loyalty in every department of the armed forces. The streets of Ouagadougou watched in amazement. Officers who once walked with pride were seen being questioned, their assets frozen, their homes searched. New officers, younger and loyal to the people, were promoted. For once, merit replaced favor. But the boldest move came 10 days later. Traoré walked into the National Defense Council, a room filled with powerful men who had ruled from behind desks for years. Some looked nervous, some looked angry. He stood at the center, his voice strong. I was almost killed because some of you value power more than the people. That ends today. He pulled a document from his coat and placed it on the table. This is a full reformation plan. Military salaries will be public. Promotion must go through citizen review. No foreign link will be allowed unless approved by this nation's heart, its people. A few generals stood up. One tried to object. Traoré cut him off. If you have a problem, the door is open. You can walk out and find a job in France. But in Burkina Faso, we are done being servants. One by one, the old wolves left, and the new lions entered. Meanwhile, the people were watching closely. Every day, the radio told them another corrupt official had been removed. Every week, they saw new young leaders from their own villages taking positions of power. For once, they saw a government that didn't just speak of justice. It acted on it. But Traoré was still not finished. In a surprise visit, he went to a military training camp and gathered young cadets. No media, no cameras, just him and the next generation. He told them, "Your weapon is not your gun. It's your loyalty. The future of Africa depends on men and women who do not bend when offered money. Stay poor with honor, and you will die rich in respect." The cadets rose and shouted in unison, "For the people, for Burkina Faso." That night, Ibrahim Traoré returned to the palace. He stood alone, looking out at the quiet city lights. He had stopped a coup, exposed traitors, rebuilt the military, and reminded the world